Brenda and Craig from Roaming and Recording. We wanted to alert you on something that happened to us this week that kind of put us in a tailspin on an international trip coming up. And it could happen to you. So what happened is I was checking our itinerary for a trip in April. And I was looking, what time does our flight leave? And what time do I have to get transportation to the airport? This is a trip from Barcelona to Ohio. So I look in the app and I see that my connecting flight through JFK is now a connecting flight through Atlanta. And we had no flight.
No, it's just all of a sudden they canceled our New York to Cincinnati, the second leg of our trip, and now it only was Atlanta to Cincinnati. So that was very confusing why they did that.
And there's no flight from Barcelona to Atlanta. So I looked into it and I see that the flight we booked through Air France and Delta was the servicing airline, which means that Delta is the one who canceled our flight. So because Air France had our money, that's who we paid the money to, and that's who we booked the flight through. That's where we started. So I got on the chat. I got on the chat for two reasons. One, I like to have a transcript of what is said. And also sometimes, there's a language barrier there, and I wanted to be sure that, I was being understood and I was understanding what they were saying. So I started there, and I was pretty impressed. As it turns out, when you book an international flight through a European line and it originates in Europe, you actually have better bill of rights, a passenger bill of rights. So we might actually make out fairly decent in this, all in all. We will come back and let you know how that is, because we can't put in for that compensation until after the trip is taken, which makes sense.
Right. Yeah, the thing that really bothered us was they gave us no notice.
No email?
That our flight was canceled or changed or anything like that. So just by happenstance, Brenda went out there and checked it. And maybe that's something that you all should consider doing too. Because if they don't notify us, we could have been traveling to the airport thinking we were all set to go and not have a flight.
Yeah,
So
we'd be off a 14-day cruise with no flight home. So we didn't. We got no text. We absolutely had no email, no notification whatsoever, which was absurd. We didn't have it from Delta. We didn't have it from Air France. Right. So Air France was very good. They said, hey, can you take this 11 o'clock one? I said, well, no, we can't get off the ship in time. They said, well, what about 9:50 at that night? I'm like, we're old. That's a long time at the airport. I said, right. Would you do it the next day instead of Friday? Could we leave Saturday? That means we would have to spend a day and a night in Barcelona. They said, yes, they could do that. And I said, well, is there any compensation for that? And they said, with this bill of rights that they have, that we should keep all the receipts to our hotel, our Uber, our meals, anything, and then afterwards submit that. Again, we don't know if that's going to work or not, but that's what happened. So,
yeah, and you really should go out there and get your passenger bill of rights for all these airlines, so you can see what compensation you probably could be,
eligible for.
Eligible for, that's right. So it was really enlightening. It was about...
All right, so then we had our flight. Yay, right? No. Because what we found out next is we went on the Delta flight, because I did ask Air France. I said, can you help us with our seats? No, Delta is serving, you need to go through Delta. I'm thinking, no problem. We do that. We go on the app and we take our seats. What did we find out?
Well, we could not go and choose seats. So, by being proactive, we went out there a long time ahead of the flight. And we were good that we got to get our seats and got really nice seats. So we were happy with that. But now that they changed us, for some reason, the rules said you can't pick your seat until check-in. So we were very concerned about that. It's a 10-hour flight, and we certainly didn't want to get stuck in the middle if we could help that.
So what it looked like is that they downgraded us, that they put us in basic, which you can't do your seats then. And we were not real happy with that. But I will tell you, we had a video a few weeks ago where we showed you Craig's old school folder. And this really came in handy because rather than try to get on a phone call or a chat with Delta and try to explain the situation that, you know, you're servicing an Air France flight and you know, then we were downgraded and, you know, all we want are seats. We want seats together. That's not asking too much. That's what we paid for. So we decided to take a 20-minute drive up to our local airport and talk to an agent. Now, we were very respectful on this because we know that the thing that they don't want to deal with is people like us coming up while they're trying to check in a bunch of people for the next flight. So we kind of looked online to see if they were going to be busy. We found the non-busy time and we went up.
Right. So Delta used to have ticket offices in the area. We're in the Dayton area. They had one in Dayton and they had one in Cincinnati, which was really nice because then they're just dedicated for ticketing of people, not checking people in. So I did away with those apparently. And now the agents at the gate have to check in people for the current flights and try to answer questions for people like us who have, you know, future flights that we have problems with. So it's a lot of work. So we tried to see when the departing flights were at the Dayton airport, and we tried to hit in a time where we thought there'd be very little people, very little activity there. And we did a pretty good job of getting there when there was just little activity. So, you know, that helped out the agent, and I think that helped us out too.
Yeah. So when we spoke with the agent, she honestly wasn't real happy to see us. And I understand that. She had a lot of things probably to do for the flights that day. But the first thing she said was, well, you did this through a travel agent. And so she tried to brush us off that way. Well, we didn't. I booked it direct. So then she said, well, you have a basic, so you don't get to choose your seats. And I said, well, you know, that's because they rebooked us and they downgraded us. And I'm happy to have my flight, but I really would like to be made whole and be able to sit with my husband and have a secured seat so that we're not in the middle seat and that we're not, you know, with people that we don't know. And, you know, it's a long flight and you know, can you please help us? Mm-hmm. So she looked, and lo and behold, in about 15 minutes, we had seats. Now, they're not as good as the seats that we had. You know, we are downgraded a little bit, but with the passenger bill of rights that we had mentioned to you, it looks like there will be compensation for that. So again, we will let you know. But I think the big thing that we learned from this, at least what I learned, was one, check your flights all the time because you might not get a cancellation notice, especially if you booked them several months ahead. You know, you book them several months ahead so that you can get those good prices. But, and then always check the Bill of Rights on whatever line that you're flying on. It's just good information to have.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, so we'll let you know how it works out, but I think the lesson we learned for sure is that we have to check constantly that nothing changed to our flight. I think that's the thing you should know about and you should do too, because we were really surprised they changed it so dramatically
and didn't tell us. Yeah.
So lesson learned.
All right. That's Brenda and Craig for Roaming and Recording. We hope you learned something today. And if you did, please give us a like and click that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.